It's Friday on the All NBA show, and we're talking about the most entertaining team in the NBA, the Charlotte Hornets, who got another big win, kind of a statement win, one of many recently over the New York Knicks. We're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about a great Rockets-Wolves matchup. We're going to talk about the Hawks. We might even have a conversation about the best player in the world. All of that and more on a Friday edition of the All NBA show. What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllCity. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, a man whose takes are so good they'll circle back every couple of years and resurface.
Apparently so, man. I'll be gone from this earth one day. 5 years buried. And there'll be some clip posted I just said yesterday. So yeah, anybody doesn't know what we're talking about. Yes, there was a video posted about me hyping Luka for MVP
on this very show.
I shouldn't even say hyping. Because that's not even, I don't hype people. I was just saying this is who I believe was MVP. It was 2 years ago before the trade to Los Angeles. And obviously somebody out there trying to circulate that to create, a discourse for Luka for MVP this year. I will say this. I haven't given really any thoughts on MVP. You and I barely talked about the MVP. I really haven't done it on the game broadcast. I haven't done a whole lot of studio work with ESPN this year. So I haven't really even dove into it yet. Either of you. So we'll get there and that time will come, but we haven't done it yet. I will say this, Luka has at least, I think, played his way into a stronger voice in that room. I don't know that he's the leader. I wouldn't say he's the front runner. And I don't know that a month ago, I would have said he's even really got a chance at the MVP. But I think that the way he's played, I don't think you can disregard, him getting votes or having a chance. I would not describe him as the front runner, though.
Yeah, I don't know if that clip will go viral, though. We try so hard on this show. We want to go viral, but we stick to the games, the actual games. Someone will take a clip from 2 years ago, chop it up into pieces and throw it out there. And all of a sudden, a million retweets.
Well, all I can tell you is over the now closing in on the end of our third season together, I've been writing down the entire time all of the things that I could say to go viral on this show. And that's going to come one day, when maybe it's all coming to an end or whatever. I'm going to get it all out there. So we're going to revisit all of it, man. Some of the stuff by then, maybe it's 10 years old, but it's still going to go viral. And
we just need to say, if you played in today's NBA, you'd average 35 a game. We just need a clip of you saying that.
That's it. That's all you got to do. Yeah, there's nothing better than just send yourself some flowers as a player. Overhype yourself.
Yeah.
That'll get it done.
I'd probably be 2-3-time MVP if I played.
If you're looking for hot take clickbait, this is the wrong place. We say some stuff that's pretty strong and impactful every day, but it's genuine, fact-based, and hopefully supported by whatever we come with our argument. But it's not going to be something to get people to just click on it, man. That's just not who we are.
Well, we like to talk about the games, and there was a good one last night. Really one good game. March Madness was starting, so I think the NBA ramped down their schedule for this weekend slate. But there was a great one that I don't think even the NBA expected, and that was the Charlotte Hornets beating the New York Knicks 114-103, and that'll be the subject of our FanDuel game breakdown. This segment, of course, presented by FanDuel. We always break down a game. This was such a good one, man. I always love when we have the Hornets on our slate. When it's like, hey, we're talking Hornets tomorrow. I enjoy watching them. I posted a clip on Twitter earlier today from the fourth quarter that I think defines why I love this team. They get to the next action so quickly. And there was a sequence in the fourth quarter where LaMelo Ball kind of gets stuck in the air, has to drop the ball off to Diabate, quickly runs to the three-point line. Diabate sees it, quickly goes into the dribble pitch, throws it over to Grant Williams, back to Diabate for a dunk. And it was like 5 passes in 3 seconds where everybody was just trying to make the next play. They're playing the game 1 second in the future, trying to figure out what the next read is. That's what I think is the defining trait of this team. And Legs, they're not good at it. They're great at it. They move the ball and make quick decisions in the half court on offense so well that they're so fun to watch and equally as impossible to guard.
They play with a relentless attacking energy, man, that just very few teams are prepared for right now for 48 minutes. You can have stretches of games where you contain them, but they never let up. They continue to play the same way, and their pieces fit so well together. I mean, they drafted the perfect player to round out the talent they already had. He's the perfect player, Knueppel, to fit alongside what they have, which is super talented, flamboyant point guard in LaMelo Ball, but a guy that will make you better because of his passing ability and the pace that he plays with up the floor. You had a guy like Brandon Miller there, who's a really talented wing. You had Bridges, who's got talent. You got this guy in the middle, Diabate, who this year has cemented himself as the perfect center for them. But they needed that other guy that could catch and shoot or take it off the dribble, that plays hard, that plays smart, that fits in perfectly with everybody. And they found him in Knueppel. And now you've got this team that just all of a sudden, they just found it a while ago, a couple months ago. They found it, and their foot has been on the gas ever since. And you're right, they are right now arguably as entertaining as any team in this league. You can't deny it. It's good for the league. The energy in the building, which has not been there in a long time in that building, is there every night. It's there from the opening tip against a team like New York, who's got a fan base that travels well. So the energy's there at the start of the game because it's got the Knicks brand in the building. Jalen Brunson's there, right? And the ball goes in there. They're already on their feet. Like, that hasn't been there for a decade. And now it's like this energy that you're watching it. It's coming right through the TV at you. Like, this place is electric right now because they've got young players, so they can see this. Not only, by the way, this isn't like, oh, we put this team together this year by bringing in three aging star players, and let's see if we can get it done. This is something that their fan base is seeing as sustainable going forward because the ages of these players and how well this is clicking. And by the way, it's not just offense. Over the last 15 games, this team is number 1 in offensive rating, but they are 3rd in defensive rating, and they're 1st in net rating by a mile. So that's how good they have been. Both ends of the floor, young talent, having fun. They're entertaining while winning. You name it, man. Charlotte's got it going on right now. And I'm so excited to hopefully see this team, in a best of 7. I hope they make it to a best of 7 because I don't want it to be like they have a bad night in a play-in game and they're out. I want to see more of the Charlotte Hornets, and I want to see more of the Atlanta Hawks, who we're going to talk about here today too. Another team with young talent that is just so fun to watch and clicking on all cylinders right now. Really good place. The second half of the Eastern Conference, what that looks like, second half of the playoff race with teams like this.
So I think that the Hornets, and first of all, this game 114-103, not as close as that sounds. That's an 11-point win. They got murdered in the last 8 minutes. They went up 21 points with 8 minutes to go in this game. Knicks call a timeout, and they kind of battled back to make it a 10-point game. But really, this was the Hornets in full command, and I think they have a big 3. I think they're big 3, and what I mean by that is 3 players that make this thing work. And there's other guys that contribute to this that really fit in. But I think it is LaMelo Ball, Knueppel, and Moussa Diabaté. Those 3 guys, like Brandon Miller's fantastic, Miles Bridges, and I think Coby White slots in for either LaMelo or Knueppel in a way that's really interesting. That's why that trade is so great, is you always have 2 of those 3 guys on the court, and all combinations work together. But those 3 guys to me are what make this work, because Knueppel constantly moves and is a threat off of the catch, so he has this enormous gravity. LaMelo is so tall and smart and just sees the court so well that he is the engine. But Diabate is the guy that he is on offense. He is doing so much, coming up to set sometimes 3 or 4 screens on one possession. He's never looking for the ball as like, hey, let me touch and hold it for a while. He's just looking at what's the next thing I can do to set those guys up. And those 3 together, your center is going to be guarding in chaos, and everybody else on the court is going to be scrambling because of the way those 3 can work. And then, of course, Miller fills in the gaps and does a bunch of interesting things. But I think those 3 guys have a synergy that is so fun to watch.
It's really interesting that you said the big 3 and you went with Diabate and not Brandon Miller. That's, I think, an interesting take. You're not going to hear that a lot of places. I love Diabate, and this is an example of a game of why you would say that. 30 minutes, took 2 shots, and was a plus 15.
Doesn't care. He's not trying to. If he gets him, he gets him. If he doesn't, he doesn't care.
And, there's other times, too. You watch him. He only had, I think, he didn't have a lot of rebounds. 5 rebounds in this game. he goes every time though. So and what I mean by that is he's one of those guys that so relentlessly goes, it requires a commitment on one or two guys sometimes to keep him off. That frees up an opportunity for somebody else to come in to collect the rebound.
Yep.
And that could also be on their own defensive glass, by the way. So he can occupy a couple of guys with his athletic ability. Now you get Bridges to come in and scoop up the defensive rebound and finish off that possession. I love Diabate. It's more than just the starting five, though, which their record together is incredible. They're plus minus. Like, it's really incredible when you look at what those five guys have done together when they're on the court. Then they go out, they add a Coby White. Grant Williams is such a smart veteran player. He's always in the right place defensively. He can knock down, a big three if you need him to, but it's really about his physicality defensively, his willingness to step in driving lanes, draw charges. He's always in the right place on that end of the floor. I like Kalkbrenner because he gives you a different look. He's like 7'2". He's so long. He's a rim protector. He dunks everything he gets his hands on around the rim. So you got a really good backup center for Diabate. Sion James is like their version of Dort in a lot of ways. Like, that's he's not as good a shooter, but like, that's the thing. You just put him out there to physically maul guys on the perimeter.
He did a good job of this yesterday, too.
Yeah,
He's
really good at that, man. So they've added depth. Their pieces on the bench fit, and they're rolling. And this game is interesting because the first quarter was a track meet. One basket after another, just trading blows, 38-36 at the end of the first quarter. The pace was relentless. So you had to catch your breath when they went to commercial break for the second quarter. From that point on, they held the Knicks to 67 points over the last three quarters. And so their defense has been the biggest story for the turnaround. Offense is great, but they're not going to be winning the way they have without their defense taking it up a notch. That's really been the story for me, how good they are defensively. And you saw that over the last three quarters. Everything the Knicks got, they had to work for in this game. And a very quiet night for Karl-Anthony Towns, which we've said a lot this year, I feel like. And it kind of made me think, if Karl-Anthony Towns can be limited in the capacity that he was in this game, the Knicks have a problem going into the postseason. And so give the Hornets credit because they really made it so where you didn't notice Karl-Anthony Towns very much in this game at all. And that's supposed to be their second best offensive player. But he's had too many nights like that, and Charlotte took advantage of that, kind of took him out of the game, and they just controlled the Knicks physically from the end of the first quarter on.
So I want to talk about their defense because I think everybody kind of understands that their offense is great, even if they don't know why. Because I don't know how many people are watching Charlotte, but if you're not, they're so entertaining. You should watch them. I mean, I love passing. Everybody likes something different. They just pass the ball so well. Like, there's energy to what they do on the offensive end that I just find fun. But everybody knows, at least has a sense of, okay, they're a good offense. What is it? They are 9th in defense since the turn of the calendar year, January 1st. 9th in defensive rating. How are they getting it done on the defensive end? Bridges is great. Diabate, hustle. They have guys, you mentioned Sion. They have guys that do some stuff, but I wouldn't have guessed this team would be good on defense, and yet here they are shutting down. The Knicks were shut down after that first quarter. They just couldn't score.
They've got a combination of physicality of certain guys on the wings, which is critical in this league to be a good defensive team. You have to be willing to get into guys, deny them, force them out on the floor, fight over dribble handoffs, fight over ball screens, pursue the ball once you're beat on a ball screen. Like, they've got guys like that. But then I think for me, the main quality when I watch them defensively is they're so quick to the ball on help recover situations. Like, when you watch the top teams in this league do it, like Oklahoma City, San Antonio at the top of the list, Boston, I would put those three teams at the top of what I've seen this year. They don't make mistakes on who the next guy is to rotate on dribble penetration. So many teams in this league that are bad defensive teams. Number one, that second guy might not even get there, first of all, because it's not pounded into their head that they have to. So you can beat one guy off the dribble, get to the rim. Okay. A lot of teams in the league look like that. So even the teams that do have the guy slide over to help on penetration, then watch the next pass and two guys run at that shooter. And then one more pass, a guy's got a wide open three. You see a lot of that in this league. The teams that excel don't make those mistakes. The right guy helps initially, and then those other three guys zone up in a way that they're communicating that it's obvious who's going to take the next pass. And then they can flood back out, and basically you're forcing a team into a reset. And they do it over and over again. And they're so good at it because their team speed collectively is fantastic. And they've got some other guys like Sion Jameses and Grant Williams of the world that are willing to do the heavy lifting with the physical stuff that you have to do to displace guys. Diabate too.
I think you hit it. So I think there's two things there that I think are underrated about defense because they might be 90% of defense in today's NBA, and that is length and speed. And you could have one or the other, but you need to be able to make up, like cover a lot of ground. They have both. I mean, this is part of LaMelo Ball as a point guard. You know, he's 6'6", 6'7". He's huge. He's got a huge wingspan. And then you just have speed and length behind him. So, yes, I think that part makes a huge deal. And this is kind of the key point I'm getting at. LaMelo has a reputation of being undisciplined and wild and chaotic because he plays a frenetic style of basketball, and he can get, and in the past he has been a little frenetic. But this is a very disciplined team. And this is why I think Charles Lee is doing something. This is a trait that when a team has it, I often look at the coach, because this team, by all accounts, should be young and somewhat undisciplined. And yet I think on both ends of the floor, they play a very disciplined style of basketball. Now, in the clutch, they blew their 20-point lead a little bit because of undisciplined play. So it's still in there. But to me, this is where they've turned the corner, is they play very disciplined on both ends. Even if it's at a fast pace, they're doing it with intention, and they're doing it with a certain level of discipline.
Have you had an opportunity at any point to like talk to or speak with or be in the presence of Charles Lee?
No, I haven't actually. I haven't interviewed him.
I've been able to do that this year, and his like the pregame interview that we get to do with these guys, you spend 15 minutes with them. You know, I spent another 15, 20 minutes with him in preseason meetings with the coaches. And then just kind of watching him when he's mic'd up, we hear stuff that you can't hear at home. If you add all that up, the totality of it, and I would have showed that to you, you would be so over the top impressed with Charles Lee. Like, he is so direct. He reminds me a lot of Mitch Johnson. Mitch Johnson has a similar personality type. They're so direct in what they say. Like, they don't ever give you anything out of their mouth that's cliche or like coach speak or like, yeah, well, anybody could have said that. Everything you ask him, he's got a very direct response. And the reason is because it's not like he's BSing you. It's because he's that like prepared, that he's so connected and in tune with his team that you can ask him any question about anything. And it's not like we give these guys a list of questions before we meet with them. He might get 6-8 questions in that interview before the game. He has no idea what we're going to ask him.
Right.
It's so weighty. Like what he's saying, it makes you smarter about his team because he is so in tune with his team. They clearly are buying in to his message, his approach, his energy. He's willing to fight for his guys during the game he's demonstrative. He can be emotional and energized sometimes. Guys don't react well to the guys that are stoic all the time. They don't react well to the guys that are stomping their foot all the time. They need a little bit of both. They need you sometimes to be calm and watching and understanding of trusting you guys. Then they need the guy that's like going to be in the run with you. That 12-0 run, they want to see their coach coming out on the court and slapping guys' hands and like being energized by that. They're connected to their coach, and it's all happening like in real time. But he's so impressive that it's a shame that he hasn't been put more into the national narrative and the public consciousness about how good a coach this guy is. Maybe it's starting to happen now.
I think it's because of how bad the start was for this team. I mean, it's the weirdest. I don't remember a season like this for a team where they were so atrocious for the first month and a half that it put them in such a hole that they've been this good. Number 1 offense, number 9 defense, number 3 net rating for half of the season, and yet they're still trying to climb themselves out of the basement. It's pretty crazy. The Coby White gives them something that I think is underrated for teams, and that is they can play 48 minutes of very good basketball that has a similar identity. And I think when teams, even if you have a good bench, if you have to change your identity or there's a little dip, your pace goes down or the ball doesn't pop as much, that can create moments where you get stuck in the mud. I think the fact that they have Coby White now allows them to play more or less 48 minutes at a consistent rhythm. So it's harder to knock them out. At a great offense, it's hard to knock that offense out of rhythm. They get 48 minutes of that rhythm. And this is part of what happened, I think, in this Knicks game is you said it was a track meet in the first. Well, Hornets never slowed down, whereas the Knicks hit a rut, and then they had to find their rhythm again, and they never really could.
Coby White is one of the keys to the whole thing. you know, he's a similar player to Colin Sexton. I mean, in that he was their guy coming off the bench, providing some offensive punch in limited minutes, and could also, you could put the ball in his hands. He was sort of like a combo guard, not clearly defined as either. Coby White's kind of like that too. Coby White can run point for you, but I think he's got a scorer's mentality, and that's when he's at his best, when you can just go. But I do think that there is a upper tier to Coby White that Colin Sexton doesn't have now. He had it at the beginning of his career, he had the injury. He's been a different player since then, and I like Colin Sexton. Coby White's different for me. Like on a given night, it feels like if LaMelo really struggles, and he could be streaky at times, if he has one of those nights where he just can't make a perimeter shot, and maybe for whatever reason the team's done a good job on Knueppel, like they're whatever, they got him under control, Coby White can be that guy that can go get 25 on that night in 20 minutes because he can string together shots, and he's so good at like finding those runs and those rhythms that it makes up for a lot, man. The margin for error is much greater for the starters because you've got a guy like Coby White that can come in and look, you're talking about a guy that just came from a team like that was like his team. It became his team last year. So this is a guy that's used to like, hey, I can go do this as the top guy on any given time, on any given night. It gives them a great luxury to have on those nights if maybe some of those other guys, or maybe it's Miller, are struggling on a given night. Coby White can erase all of that because of his ability to come off the bench and drop 20 on you.
Well, if they get to do something in Charlotte that I imagine fits his style perfectly, which is you get to kind of attack, like maybe it's an ISO, maybe it's on pick and roll or something. You get to attack, and if nothing's there, you could pitch it to your big, usually Diabate, but Cockbrenner as well. You could pitch it to your big, and if the play calls for it, you can go get the ball again and come off of another DHO. And I think that works for Coby White. To what you're saying, he was the number one guy in Chicago. You kind of have to do that out of necessity. You sometimes get 3 or 4 chances to try to create an advantage in one possession. But Charlotte plays like that naturally. It's like the play doesn't end just because you got walled off and there was nowhere to go. Just pivot, pitch it, get it back, go right into another thing. And Coby White is kind of designed to do those things. So it fits him perfectly, and it allows them to play this style. The last thing I have to ask you about, though, Knueppel, we talk about the shooting. He had that last night, too, 6 of 10 from 3. I mean, he has that every single night. It's one of the most consistent shooters I've ever seen already. But 11 rebounds, 8 assists. Like, of all the stuff this guy has done this year that's been so impressive, I didn't see a triple-double on the table. He didn't get it, but this guy has triple-double potential in him now. We've talked a lot about the Cooper Flagg versus Knueppel Rookie of the Year race, and I kind of had it as, yeah, it's simple. I mean, I just think that Cooper Flagg's better. But I'm watching stuff like this, and I'm like, Knueppel can get a triple-double and get 6 threes in the same game. This isn't – he is such a complete player for his age. It's insane.
I'm glad you finished with this because that was my last note. I wanted to talk about this Rookie of the Year thing because I think you and I would agree. When you look at the two players, Cooper Flagg and Knueppel, Cooper Flagg has the higher like upside ceiling.
He's like more of a cornerstone.
That's I guess probably the best way to put it. Like Cooper Flagg and his size helps, and like just the defensive presence. Although Knueppel's a good defender and he's a better rebounder than I thought. He's averaging 5.5 rebounds a game, and it's like. That means there's a lot of nights you're getting 7, 8. You're chipping in with 7, 8 rebounds as your 2 guard. Like you're really more than carrying your weight on the glass. He can make plays off the dribble, very decisive, doesn't turn the ball over very much. But it's his shooting is always going to be the thing we're drawn to the most. Cooper Flagg is different. And earlier in the year, I thought, Cooper Flagg has so much more responsibility on his plate because they literally gave him the ball from the beginning, and it was kind of like his team, his offense. Yeah. Even when AD was out there was so much responsibility to Cooper Flagg late in the game to handle the ball and go create offense for a 6'10" rookie that was so young. It was like, man, you're putting him in a tough spot, but it didn't compare to me like the lane that Knueppel could stay in. I was like, so therefore that tilted it toward Cooper Flagg. But here's the thing. Knueppel, the more I watch him, the more responsibility he's been given to make their offense hum. He, in a lot of ways, is the reason their offense hums because of the pressure he puts on defense with his range, but it's also his movement. how quickly he can turn the corner on a catch off a down screen and get to the rim before anybody was expecting it. Like, he's added stuff to his game as the year's gone on. And so now I'm going, all right, I'm still saying Cooper Flagg with the total package is definitely a higher level player, like down the road. Like, you see that. But in terms of this season, where I gave Cooper Flagg more credit because of the responsibility that's played as the lead and initiator. Well, all right. Well, what about the credit we have to give Knueppel for playing in meaningful games?
Yeah.
This guy's on a team that's surging, that is going to be relevant in the postseason. He's a major part of it. So, like, the fact that every night matters, that carries a lot of weight because Cooper Flagg hasn't been playing in meaningful games for a while. Right. My point is this. I was pretty decisive. Go back, I don't know, 6-8 weeks ago, that Cooper Flagg was going to win Rookie of the Year. I'm less decisive about that now. I think it is genuinely going to be a close race, and I think Knueppel could potentially walk away from it. I haven't decided yet who I'm voting for. In case, anybody wants to clip off something from 4 years ago, you can't do it about this conversation because it'll be a Rookie of the Year conversation.
That's true.
So you can't do that here, people, whoever you are out there, the Steelers of clips. But I haven't decided yet. And I kind of thought where I was going maybe 6 weeks ago. And now I know, you know what? No, Knueppel's played his way into a dead heat, I think, with Cooper Flagg. Do you agree?
I don't. I think I might lean towards Knueppel now. And I know that sounds a little wishy-washy. Now, some of this is, I haven't been watching a lot of Mavs over the last month of the season. It's just like we're now at playoff ramp up. They're not a playoff team. He's kind of banged up. I don't think he's very healthy. I did see him here against Denver earlier this week, and I thought he looked a little banged up, quite frankly. But it's more to the point about what you're saying, though, is, first of all, I throw out team record. If Knueppel was on the Mavs, would they be a playoff team in the West? I don't think so. If Cooper Flagg was on the Hornets, would they be in the spot they are? Probably, just in a different way. Like he's telling. So I throw out the record thing for Rookie of the Year voting. But I just look at Knueppel and I go, you kind of live what you said. We're grading him on a scale because he's a role player. He's not a role player. He's part of their engine. He's part of their identity. And the fact that he can get you 8 assists, 10 rebounds, and, oh, by the way, 6 threes, and the fact that he's so consistent, he can defend and he can do all these things. I just think that it's not about weighing it for record or weighing it for any of that. He is an all-around player as a rookie in a way that I think we have to give him credit for that. Cooper Flagg's an all-around player and might be a better all-around player in the years to come, but Knueppel's year this year to me has just been Rookie of the Year type stuff. I think I lean to him.
He's got a legit shot. I will not be surprised if he pulls it off. And what's I think's helping him is the story continues with the Charlotte Hornets, and there's just more nights for him to demonstrate it and put it on display. And there's not a lot of people watching the Dallas Mavericks now because they went into lottery mode. And so you kind of, tuned them out. The relevance and importance of the games aren't there. They are for the Hornets. So he's going to have more nights where he's put in the spotlight. Now it ends at the end of the regular season. It's not like the postseason is going to matter for this award. So, but he's got, how many games they have left? Like 10, 9? I don't know how many games they have left. He's got, and these games really matter. They're trying to get out of the play-in. They have a chance to do that. So these games are important. The spotlight's on them. They're a story now. They're fun as hell. So people are just jumping in to watch just because of that. Yeah. So he's continuing to have the gavel in his hand. Make your case, man. And you feel a lot less of that about the Dallas Mavericks and Cooper Flagg. So I think it's now become a situation where Knueppel could pull this off and run Cooper Flagg down here, in the home stretch.
And by the way, who knows what his upside is? I mean, he seems like a guy that is reaching that just because we often talk about upside when it's athleticism or whatever. He's already so polished. I don't know what his upside could be, but you know what? He is a rookie, and he's putting up these kind of numbers and having this impact. I'm so curious to see what he becomes here in the coming years. He's fun to watch. We got to take a break. On the other side, though, some very interesting games from 2 nights ago, including the Timberwolves eking out. That was one of the weirdest games ever. We're going to talk about the Atlanta Hawks who had a court night. We're calling the game on Wednesday. Like the Hornets, they're very interesting here in this home stretch. We'll talk about them on the other side. Tournament tournament is here right now. New FanDuel customers can get up to $300 back in bonus bets every day for 10 days. Here's how it works. Place a tournament bet using the token, and if it doesn't win, you'll get up to $300 back in bonus bets every single day for 10 straight days. That's 10 chances to play all tourney long, from game props and money lines to spreads, totals, futures, and more. You can even mix up things with same-game parlays for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to fill out your bracket, FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the action day after day. So visit FanDuel.com/AllCity to sign up today. That's FanDuel.com/AllCity to get in on the action.
Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
You guys know that moment, the one where you realize you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away. We've all been there. I've been there. But I've got Shady Rays. They've changed the game. They've got sunglasses that are made for real life, seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. The wild part is, if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can actually wear your sunglasses without fear. On hikes, at concerts, on the boat, wherever. Shady Rays is eyewear that has your back. Listen up, because here's the deal. You go to shadyrays.com and you use the code ALLCITY. That's one word, ALLCITY, and you'll get 40% off 2+ pairs of polarized sunglasses. All right, back here, segment 2 of the All-NBA show. We hope you guys are enjoying it. Enjoyed all week. I've liked the shows we've had this week. If so, make sure you subscribe to this channel here on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast apps. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review if you want to kind of boost the show a little bit. Share it on social media. Legs, Wednesday was a great day in the association. Some really good games. And one of them that was most interesting was the Houston Rockets falling to the Minnesota Timberwolves in overtime, 110-108. No Anthony Edwards in this game. And what a bizarre way for this game to unfold. A 26-2 run from Houston to close out the game and tie it and then send it to overtime. They were on a 26-2 run. But then the game flipped, and it ended on a 15-0 run from the Timberwolves. Have you ever seen a 26-2 run followed by a 15-0 run to decide a game by 2 points?
No, and it actually it's record setting, right? It's the biggest comeback in overtime ever.
Oh yeah, in overtime, yeah, biggest comeback.
So, I mean, one team scores the first 13 points in overtime, and the other team scores the last 15.
That's so bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's the most bizarre thing you're ever going to watch, and. My buddy Dave Pash was on the call for that game, and we had the first game that night. So we had 2 back-to-back overtime games, man.
Yeah.
Great night on Wednesday night on ESPN, man. Really fun games. And Dave Pash said it when the game ended, man, one of the best games of the year. He's right. It was one of the best games of the year. And it wasn't necessarily because it was a thing of beauty, but here's what it did have. First of all, these teams were talking to each other. They were getting into each other. There was blood spilled. There were guys on the floor on every trip. Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was sloppy. There were turnovers. But the intensity was absolutely like deep playoff worthy. Like that's how hard these two teams were playing. It was a very bizarre game. Most of my notes, and this is unfortunate because I don't want to sell the Timberwolves short, are on the Rockets. Like most of my takeaways are about the Rockets in this game. But let's just before we get to them, then let's just do a little bit of Minnesota because they won the game.
Yeah. Sure.
First of all, 4-1 without Anthony Edwards, and these are good wins. These are
interesting.
These are wins against Phoenix, Boston, and Houston. Okay, these are good quality wins. And they've had games even when Julius Randle wasn't even necessarily great offensively without Anthony Edwards, and they still found a way to win. So 4-1. A lot of energy in this team, and you know there's Minnesota sort of hanging around. Anthony Edwards goes down. By the way, I have a Minnesota-Detroit tomorrow night, and I'm really hoping Anthony Edwards is back for that game. He's a game-time decision. I hope we see him tomorrow night. But this is like what you have to do to make yourself a little bit more relevant in the narrative in the playoff. Like how much damage can you really do is stuff like this at this time of the year. String together some really good wins, and the way you have to do it, like desperation That's what that looked like to me. Without their best player, they desperately fought back from a 13-point deficit in overtime to win a game. And it makes you go, man, don't dismiss Minnesota. Yeah. I don't care how they've played. Like, they are a team that has found a way the last 2 seasons to win games they had to win in the playoffs. And they're winning games right now without Anthony Edwards. And I was just so impressed with their overall collective resolve and effort and desperation in this game. When they go down 13 in overtime and you could see it, it looked like, any team in the league would be like, all right, whatever, man, we fought back, but now we're going to lose. It is who's coming back from 13 points in overtime? It's not going to happen. And yet here they were, hit a couple of threes. And next thing you know, like, okay, let's play this out the last 2 minutes. And they stole a game just through effort and then clutch shot making. And again, a meltdown on the part of the Houston Rockets offensively, like we've seen too many times.
Too many times for sure. My one note on Minnesota, I just am such a believer in my 3 pillars of championship contention: talent, toughness, and connection. The Wolves are pretty talented, but they're not the most talented team in the NBA. I just don't think they're pretty talented, though, but there's teams that have more talent. They're kind of connected, but there are teams that play with better connection than they play with. But they might be the toughest team. And this is what they have to hang their hat on, is mental and physical toughness. They just like a street fight. They like to get physical. They like to jaw with you. If it becomes a trash-talking battle, that's going to get them going. And then the bigger thing is, even right now, I think there's only 3 or 4 teams that are even capable of coming back from 13-0 in the overtime. Or blowing a 25 or 26-2 run. There's only so many teams that don't just fold in that moment, and they're one of them. And to me, if they're going to be scary in the playoffs, it's going to be because they're the toughest team and they just can win a street fight every single time. To me, that's what makes them impressive. No Anthony Edwards, blow a huge lead, still find a way to get it done. They're scary because they're tough. Let's go over to Houston, though. And I'll steal this one. I think it's where you're probably going to go with this. Sengun gets the bloody – he makes a great play. They almost choked the game away in regulation after coming all the way back. And Sengun comes over to make a great game-saving block. Then I think the 29 teams in the NBA, if a player comes over and makes a game-saving block, sprints the length of the court, and then comes up with mouth falling all over the blood, the team would carry him on their shoulders back to the bench and lay him down, get him a towel, get him some water, massage his shoulders a little bit, just really get him going. Nobody even looked at him. He goes to the ground. He walks away. He goes to the bench. Nobody sits next to him. And I'm thinking, what the hell just happened? You just came back. The game was over. You come back. You saved the game. And everybody's just like, doesn't even say good job. I thought it was so weird.
I'm in a state of shock. We haven't talked about like your takeaway. That's the first thing you're going to, is the fact that Sengun didn't get the hero's welcome he should have gotten. By the way, he should have gotten. That was one of the best blocks you're going to see all year, man, because he got way up. Like he was definitely on the way up, and his fingertips are by the top of the square and went over a guy to do it. So he landed basically with his face on the court from a pretty good distance. And that's your takeaway, that they didn't give this guy.
They didn't even look at him. I'm just saying, if I've sacrificed my body to save the game, I just would expect my teammate to be like, good job.
Well, let me ask you something. Are you worried about like some chemistry issues with this team?
Of course. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Let's just get that out there right away then. This is what, and I'm not going to disagree with you, because I watch them sometimes and I think they get dispirited in games. And the teams in this league that you really think have a chance to win it typically don't. And the ones that you really think can win it, you look at the top 2 teams in the West, almost never do. And so I've seen that out of Houston this year. They get a little bit down dispirited. They don't look as connected. Yeah. My takeaways from this game, the first one is like the turnovers when they're trying to close games. And Durant had a lot of them. And I just called a game recently when he had a bunch of turnovers.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this. Clearly, you're turning the ball over. You're making the decision, and you're 6'11". Like, you can usually find a way to get the ball somewhere safer. It's not like you're a 6-foot point guard trapped by bigger guys, and there's just nowhere to go with the ball. So you start with the player. You're making the decision. But I will say this, and I saw it last night. I saw it in the last game I called. There's an issue with their offense that I don't know what they do about this, because Amen Thompson has to be on the floor, and he's had a great month, and his numbers are great. If you just look at the numbers, the spacing is a problem. Here's why. There were plays in this game when if they don't turn the ball over, they probably win the game because of the way that they collapsed late. And it involved this. Kevin Durant trying to run some sort of a two-man action at the top, taking on two defenders, the big, usually Sengun, sort of diving to the middle, somebody defensively pinching off of Amen Thompson, who's at the three-point line, to take away Sengun's role. So now Durant's picking the ball up. Problem is, Amen Thompson is not a threat at the three-point line, and he wasn't even staying there. He was running in toward the lane. Yeah. So now Kevin Durant doesn't even have Sengun to throw to because there's too much traffic. And it's because of the spacing. And the only shooter is on the opposite side of the court, buried in the corner. So Kevin Durant is picking the ball up because he's seeing multiple defenders, and it's getting tipped. It's late to come out. He's not sure where to go with it. The spacing's not great. And it's a problem because of the limitations with Amen Thompson shooting. And depending on the lineup and the way that the play breaks down, and like the spacing at the start of the play, there might not be anywhere to go with the ball that's going to create ball movement to get something good and make a team pay for trapping. Yeah. And I saw that multiple times in this game. And I saw it in the game I just called. And it's a problem. I'm not saying you take him off the floor or he's not a good player, but that particular element of his game is a problem when you're trying to execute down the stretch with proper spacing to give Durant the space he needs to go do his thing. Yeah. And sometimes that might mean take on two defenders 5 times in a row and move the ball, and they'll score. And Kevin Durant's not going to care, but they're not doing that. They're not scoring on those possessions. And part of it's spacing, part of it's bad decision-making. Part of it is just, Durant making a bad decision or not executing the pass. It killed them in this game. Killed them. Well, their inability to get into something good, man, with the game on the line. And that's what you brought in Durant to do. And that's part of the problem that they've had a lot in the fourth quarter this year. They've not been a good team when the game's on the line.
And part of how they built that lead was KD tough shot making. I mean, I remember a 3 he had, contested, hand in the face, didn't matter, just drains it. Like, he's capable of making those shots. But I think we're in a weird way talking about the same thing. I think the trust and connection of that team is the reason for the thing you're talking about. Because there are guys who are not great shooters they're okay shooters, but not great shooters on Oklahoma City or on Boston. But they get to their spots, and if the play calls for the ball to skip to that guy, they skip it to that guy, and he takes the shot, and the spacing stays the same. And you just say we live or die with our weakest shooter being wide open sometimes. And Amen Thompson, you're right that he's not comfortable being that guy. He record scratches sometimes when he gets the ball in the corner, and it's like, I don't really feel it. When it's like, no, you just have to shoot it, whether you're feeling it or not. But at the same time, there are times when the right play is called for that, and it doesn't arrive there. And I think when that happens, if you're a guy that's in the corner and you have a couple times where you're in the corner and the play calls for you to get it and they don't throw it to you, you start to think, well, I'm going to go for the offensive rebound, or I'm going to go for the cut. I'm not going to stand out here and not get it. And I think that's what the thing is with Houston. They're too inconsistent with just getting it to the right guy, even if it's not the best shot you want, but it's the shot the defense gives you. And so as a result, they all kind of just, well, I'm just going to try to insert myself some other way. And I think that's Amen Thompson. It's on both, in my opinion, KD and on Amen Thompson. Amen Thompson has to shoot him, and KD has to sometimes just hit the guy when they're open and say, this is the right play. I just have to do it.
Here's another problem. You're right. Those are all great points, man. And it's so I think for me, the issues with this team is their offense. And look, they didn't do anything about the point guard situation. They went into the season. They're going to kind of do it by committee with KD handling it, Sengun handling it. Amen Thompson initiates sometimes. Reed Sheppard has played well, but he's not like a big time playmaking point guard to organize them. So their offense is the problem in close games. Yeah. So one of the other problems they're having right now, and I just mentioned him, Reed Sheppard, I think he's lost some confidence. And it's obvious to me because I watch shooters. I watch them when they miss shots, when they're going through a tough patch, and I watch their sort of reaction to it. And I'm starting to see a little bit of frustration, overt frustration exhibited by Reed Sheppard when he's missing a good look. And the numbers back it up. I mean, it's so important for this team, but why does it matter so much? It's Reed Sheppard, right? You're thinking, okay, he's a role player on this team. He's had a very good year. They're 27th in the league in three-pointers made per game. 27th.
Yeah.
Reed Sheppard represents a significant chunk of their three-point shooting. He is now 25 for his last 78, 32% over 9 games.
And they can't can't survive it.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can't survive. And I don't want to put undue pressure on any one player, but that in large ways, that is what you get paid to do. The game that we just had with the Rockets, like he had great looks in that game. And last night he had really good looks, clean looks. That's what I'm talking about. If he's not getting good looks and he's just scrambling to get shots up, I can identify the difference. I feel like he's getting pretty good shots. And right now he's struggling. Now, he's a good enough shooter that he could turn it around, but he's also, remember, this is a guy that last year had confidence issues. Last year didn't crack in, even though he was a top pick. It was kind of like hot and cold with him in terms of how they used him, how many minutes he got. Then he had a great breakthrough to start the year. You're like, okay, he's good to go. But you know what? He's only several months removed from the feeling I was just describing. So he could come back on a young player. And I think right now he's struggling a little bit with his confidence. That's a big deal for this team. To have this guy in particular, even though he's a role player, struggling like this when you're counting on him to create space and to be a threat, to make it easier for their other guys that want to attack off the dribble, it is a big deal. So can he turn it around? Of course, he's a good enough shooter. He's got a great stroke. Right now, he's not expecting it to go in. He's hoping it goes in, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
And he's got to turn that around to give their offense more balance. As it is, they're still going to be, in the bottom 5 in the league, even if he is making threes. So that's how critical this is, because you just can't win if you're getting outscored to that extent from the 3-point line every night. It's just impossible to overcome. And there are some nights he does enough where that deficit is not nearly as great, and now the other qualities of their team can win out. He has to get it going, man, and I hope he does. I'm pulling for him, but you could see it right now in his face, his body language, his reactions to misses. He's feeling it. He's overthinking it. He's squeezing the ball too tight. He knows how important it is on this team because there's so many non-shooters, and he's got to get it going for them to turn this around.
Well, that game flipped them in the standings. Houston's now down to 6, Minnesota 5. They play each other one more time. Their end of season schedules, I think, are somewhat comparable. So that was a big game. And the next one they play is also a big game just to determine seeding. I'm not sure if either of those teams have a preference who they play. If Denver stays in the 4, which I expect they will, they have a very soft schedule to end the year. So I don't know if like the Rockets or Timberwolves, either one of them care Denver or LA. They're both going to be tough. So I imagine you just want the higher seed. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Let's go to the other game, though. You called the Atlanta beating Detroit on Wednesday. This was another overtime one. What do you wanted to talk Hawks today. So what stood out to you as they continue to win?
Man, so haven't seen them all year other than watching, some of their games on League Pass. I haven't seen them in person. I was so excited to see them because of how well they've played. And their winning streak that they had a 9-game winning streak, and it was like, it was playing a bunch of lottery teams, similar to what the Knicks did, by the way. We didn't even talk about that. Like the Knicks, they had a 7-game winning streak, Indy twice, Brooklyn, Washington, New Orleans, Utah, and Golden State. Like that's their winning streak. Atlanta's look similar. Yeah. Now they had a good win against Orlando, but now this was the stage. And I know they didn't have Cade Cunningham out there, but still, it's Detroit Pistons at home. They're a good team, even without Cade. And now here comes Atlanta. And Jalen Johnson had missed the 2 previous games. So like, okay, stage is set. And I was so impressed because they had a big lead. They dominate the first half. Detroit comes out of the locker room in the third quarter, 25-5 run to start the third quarter, erased a 20-point deficit. We have a tie game, and that happened in 6 minutes. So now, timeout, we got a quarter and a half to go, and it's basically tied. So now it was one possession after another. It was tight the rest of the way. And the way that they operated, how cool Jalen Johnson is. He's never sped up. He's so smooth. His vision is off the charts. And Quinn Snyder said of all the things he does, freak athlete, he can score. He's an elite rebounder for a small forward, like over 10 a game for a small forward. It's unreal. He said by far his best quality is his passing. He told us that before the game, and he's right. Watching some of the plays he made with his vision in that game. So they've got guys like Dyson Daniels who they're involved in every play the entire game, and he can't shoot at all. and he still finds a way to put up a double-double, like 16 and 11 on the night. And, of course, all the defense and steals. And then you got this CJ McCollum factor. Like, you put the ball in this veteran guard's hands who can get his own shot, and he's great at ball screen. So the game's tight. Jalen Johnson's not your first option for all those big possessions. You go to CJ McCollum because he's got experience doing it. He's got a little bit better handle. And they win the game running basically one possession after another for CJ McCollum late.
Yep.
And they've got so many pieces like Okongwu I love. Like
so hold on real quick about the end of game thing, because this is one of the things that stood out to me was how much it was give CJ the ball and clear out and just let him go. And he delivered for them for the most part. But they had one play, Legs, that was not that in the clutch. And it was Dyson Daniels setting a ball screen. I can't even remember. It might have been for CJ McCollum, but it was so good because he comes up, like most teams, they run that rub action. You get a switch. It doesn't do anything. Teams just want to switch it. He sets the screen, slips around, sets it the other way, and slips perfectly into the pocket so that the two defenders got confused for a second. Both jumped on ball. He got it in the pocket and was able to make a play. And I just bring it up because it seems hard. Like teams just concede the switch and teams seem to just set the screen, get out of there, and it's like there's nothing there. He actually was like, no, I'm going to force them into a pickle. And I just thought we never see this in the NBA where a player actually is like, no, I'm not going to allow you to just switch. I'm going to make you have to make a read, and they got a bucket out of it. So
yeah,
one play.
That's a good pickup on that. And the other thing that stood out to me about Dyson Daniels throughout the game, I'm watching him and I'm thinking, there are elite defenders in this league who are so limited offensively that actually coaches have to make decisions sometimes when they're on the floor or not.
Yeah.
Like Detroit's got one of those in Asar Thompson, who they took off the floor for multiple offensive possessions late in this game. And then as a result of that, when they missed, they didn't have him on the floor to guard CJ McCollum. Like that's the extent to which his offense can be a challenge. Here's the thing about Dyson Daniels. He doesn't even look at the rim from the 3-point line, right? He I don't even know what his numbers are in the year, but it's incredible. Like how few threes
he's scared to shoot for sure too.
Yeah. And he's 15% or something for the year. Here's the thing. Because he's so active, he dives, he cuts, he's got size, he got great hands. He still finds a way to get 16, 18 points in like a double-double, even though he's not going to look at the rim on the perimeter. So that's my point. Like they didn't have to take him off the floor when they had possessions where they're out of a timeout or a dead ball. They could have subbed when they had the ball. Let's get him off the floor because he can't shoot. They have so much faith he's going to go make a play as a passer, get on the offensive glass. And by the way, his defense is so valuable that they're like, hey, even if we don't score and he's not a good offensive player, if we don't score, I want him on the floor to guard the next possession. And it was funny because Detroit got caught in that a couple of times with Thompson on the bench because they took him off the floor for offense. And then he wasn't on the floor to play defense because there was no stoppage. And I just noticed that about Dyson Daniels. Like this kind of differentiates him. They don't worry about his offense and his lack of shooting because he does so many things to help you offensively anyway, even though he can't shoot. And I thought that was a distinction between he and Asar Thompson a little bit, who are both two of the top defensive players in this league. Dyson Daniels stayed on the court the whole time because he's going to find other ways to contribute offensively than shooting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. This was the real question I wanted to ask you. Is Atlanta building something real? Do you see the vision? Because right now it's three guards, Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Love both of them, but you need an offensive guy. Like neither one of them can space or be the offensive guard you need. So then you play a third guard in CJ McCollum, which I never really like three little guards. Then Jalen Johnson and Onyeka Okongwu. Obviously love Jalen Johnson. But I'm trying to think about what are we learning about the Hawks this year that tells you what the blueprint is going forward? I
think this is legit what they have. This is the start of something. And it starts with this immense talent in Jalen Johnson. And like I don't think the guy really broke a sweat in this game. And he practically had a 25-point triple-double.
Yeah, he plays smooth.
He coasts and I'm not saying that in a bad way. I mean, his movements, he looks like he's gliding.
Yep.
He doesn't ever look like he's in a hurry. And for a young player with this kind of athletic ability, you would expect 3-4 plays a game where he just got out of control because he wants to go dunk on everybody and get there so quickly. He never does that. He takes his time, and then he still gives you 2 or 3 of these eye-popping athletic plays, but everything's under control. So you have the right guy to build it around. And I like their core pieces. Nickeil Alexander-Walker has a real shot at most improved player in the league. He took a scoring average from 9 to 20, and he's averaging 24 a game this month. 50% three-point shooting. Like, that's elite offensive play from a guy that was primarily a defender in Minnesota. Dyson Daniels, I love. I just talked about him. Okongwu, I love. Jock Landale is a nice backup for him. Like, they have found the right chemistry, the right belief, and they have the right star player to build around because of his demeanor, his own selfishness. And, he gives you every night an opportunity to have the best athlete on the floor too. I think this is a start of something for Atlanta, much like Charlotte. So both of these teams kind of right in before our eyes are starting to emerge, and they're making the Eastern Conference playoffs a lot more interesting. They've already played their way up. They got a real shot here. They're looking at 5 dead in the eye as a 5 seed potentially. It's incredible to think that where they started and where they're ending up.
They could have a top pick in this year's draft since they own New Orleans, and then they'll have some wiggle room this offseason to add to player. CJ McCollum I think he's the placeholder, but they need this offensive guy, and I'm curious to see who that will be because I love all the other pieces, but I kind
of agree he's the placeholder, but at the same time, he's still got a lot of game left.
Yeah.
And so however long he has to hold that place until they find that replacement for him, an on-ball, a high-level offensive player, great. But in the meantime, they're in good hands with CJ McCollum, and he's very good in pressure situations. And they're trying to win every night. Like they're expecting to be
a 5 seed right now.
Yeah, it's turned, man.
Edge, but
yeah, it's completely turned for this franchise. So
yeah.
And look, by the way, they also changed their identity as a franchise mid-season by trading Trae Young, who had been their identity for so long. The face of the franchise. That's hard to do on the fly.
Yeah.
And they've done it, and they've played their best basketball here lately. And it's all good things, man.
Well, we have to resolve our headline here, which is a quick conversation about the best player in the world. And the reason we wanted to talk about this one is I think Nikola Jokic has been sort of penciled in for that title for the last handful of years. There have been contenders to that title, but I think that it was pretty comfortable. Here's what I'll say about right now. The league has 4 players that I think are all playing with a case for it. And I actually think that's a good thing. We don't always have to have a consensus. I think it's nice that you have right now, in my opinion, Shea, Jokic, Luka, Wemby, who all have a legitimate case for that. And what's cool about it is I don't think any of those guys are dropping off in the next year. Maybe Jokic does, who knows? But I actually think Shea, Wemby, Luka, Jokic, those guys, we might be having this conversation 7 months from now, same conversation, because all 4 of those players are fantastic.
Yeah, I think so. And we're going to have to make this short because I do have to catch a flight. I got to go get to Minnesota today to call this game tomorrow night. But we'll get into a much deeper dive on this with each of these guys. But I think that the thing that I guess the big narrative about the conversation is I think it's much more debatable on who it is.
Yeah.
And it's been in recent years because you think
and
about
not MVP. We're not talking MVP.
We're not
talking
talking
about
MVP.
who
We're talking about
the best.
Who is generally considered the best player on the planet? You think about it. I mean, how long LeBron James had control of that title, even the years he didn't win MVP, he was generally regarded as the best player in the world.
No question.
Right. And so I think the same thing for Jokic. Was considered Giannis was considered that I think at one point. Then it was Jokic.
Years, yep.
And then it was like, and then Shea obviously got his MVP last year, but it's still kind of like I think debatable Shea and Jokic. And now Luka like started to get there, and then it was just weird with what down in Dallas and everything to start with the Lakers. Like, but now he's starting to like be like, okay, remember me? And then of course you've got Wemby. So I think the conversation has much greater debate with valid points made across a broader spectrum than what it has been for a long time when we kind of knew who that guy was generally. Even though you would still have debate and some people disagree, there was a general consensus. And I don't know that there is as much of that right now because of the broad spectrum of guys that could be included in the conversation.
Well, what's cool about it, for me, it's those 4 guys. I don't have anybody else in that conversation. I just think it's those 4 guys. But what's nice is they represent the 1, 2, 3, and 4 seed in the Western Conference, which means we're likely going to get these guys playing against each other. And you can have a head-to-head. I thought Shea and Jokic last year went head-to-head. Thunder win that one. But I thought Jokic recused himself in a way that you didn't think it was like a changing of the guards or anything like that. You can have that, where both guys play great, one team's just better. But you can also have a head-to-head that comes down to those 2 guys making shots in the clutch. And I just think we're going to get that this year. I think we're going to have big moments with all those players we just talked about. And that's why this playoffs is setting up to be an all-timer.
I totally agree. And it's good that, like, you look at Luka and like the way the Lakers are playing their best basketball and down the stretch, he's been incredible. So, and how good he's been in past postseason runs. So that's setting the stage for that. Wemby, obviously trying to make this postseason like his real, statement to be made. SGA coming off a title and an MVP. And then of course you still have Jokic there, 3-time MVP champion. Denver's still in the mix. So I agree. I think that you're going to have some of these moments where both of these guys get to make their case on the floor together in a 7-game series. And it's rare that we get that.
Hit that outro music there for us, Atticus. I know we have fan duels of the night. You can bring that up on screen real quick. We'll just go real quick. Pacers, Heat, Cavs, Hawks, Celtics, Bulls, Thunder, Rockets, Grizzlies, Pelicans, Raptors, Jazz, Nuggets, Mavs, Blazers, Wizards, Warriors, Nets, Lakers. Man, that's a lot of games. Hawks, Celtics.
That's
and
the
Heat,
one.
Cavs.
That's the one.
Only 2 games.
Hawks, Celtics, man. And they just went in and got that win in Detroit. Now they have an opportunity to go into Boston, who just ended Oklahoma City's long winning streak. So now Atlanta gets another opportunity, man, to go make a real statement about what they are.
We'll see what happens in that one. Everybody, thanks for tuning in all week. Legs, get to your flight. Everybody else, we'll see you on the weekend with Mark Stein. Hit the like button for us on the way out.
We all silly like the mayor.